Okay, so um, let's start with a scenario that I think practically every single person in the senior living industry is living through right now.
Oh, I can probably guess exactly what it is.
Right. Picture this. You're running a community and you are spending thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on marketing every single month.
Just pouring money into the machine.
Exactly. You have these beautiful, glossy websites. You have a sales team that is trained like a SWAT team to jump on a lead the absolute second it hits the inbox. We are talking seconds here.
Yeah, well, that's the standard playbook. You optimize for volume and you optimize for speed.
And if you look at the dashboard, everything is green. You're tracking clicks, impressions, conversion rates, the whole 9 yards. But here is the provocation I want to start our deep dive with today.
Lay it on me.
What if all of that is measuring the wrong thing?
Oh, wow.
What if you are winning the battle for attention, but you're losing the war because you missed the only metric that actually matters in 2026?
That is a terrifying thought for anyone who is looking at a budget spreadsheet right now.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially saying the entire map is wrong.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So for those joining us, I'm your host, and I'm here with our resident operations and strategy expert. And today's deep dive is based on a really compelling argument from the ADage Marketing Group. It's titled Experience by Design.
It's a fantastic piece of material.
It really is. And the core thesis here is going to shake some people up. They argue that in the current landscape, trust is the only metric that matters. Not clicks, not impressions, and get this, not even speed to lead.
Which is huge, considering how obsessed the industry has been with speed for the last decade. I mean, it's been the golden rule. Call them back in 5 minutes or you lose. But when you dig into the source material, the logic is undeniable. The stakes are just incredibly high.
So what's our mission for this deep dive? We want to unpack this argument. We're going to explore how experience by design is replacing the traditional sales funnel. And the force argues that when trust is broken, everything gets expensive immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's unpack that expensive part, because usually when we talk about trust, it feels very soft, very kumbaya. But the source is arguing this is a hard financial metric. How does trust actually make things expensive?
Well, think about the operational reality of it. If trust is broken, your marketing costs rise because you have to work twice as hard to convince people to even listen to you in the first place.
Makes sense.
And your sales cycles get longer because families are hesitant. They need 10 touch points instead of 5. And referrals, which are usually your best and cheapest leads, they start to shake because people won't put their own reputation on the line for you.
So it's essentially a hidden tax on the business.
It is a massive tax. And perhaps most critically, your team starts burning precious energy trying to fix outcomes that were actually lost way earlier in the process. You're fighting fires instead of building relationships.
Right, it's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. You can turn the hose on harder, to buy more leads, send more emails, but you're just wasting water.
Exactly. And typically we treat marketing strategy and operational excellence as two completely different departments, two different budgets, even two different cultures.
Totally.
But what we're going to explore today is why, according to our source, they are actually the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It is all about experience by design.
So if the traditional funnel is broken, or at least leaking, let's talk about why. This brings us to our first major topic. The funnel is a lie. Now, I've seen the diagrams, we all have. The V shape, lead at the top, move in at the bottom. Why does the source call this a lie?
It's a bit of a lie because, or at least it's a dangerous oversimplification. We love to think of the buyer journey as this tidy linear path.
Click an ad, become a lead.
Right. Take a tour, sign a lease, boom, CRM nirvana.
But real life is incredibly messy.
So messy. The source makes a vital mental shift here. The senior living buyer journey isn't a single person buying a pair of shoes online. It involves multiple people. You have daughters, sons, spouses, maybe a financial advisor.
Everyone has an opinion.
Exactly. It involves multiple fears and multiple timelines. It's not a straight line, it's a knot.
And the mindset of the person buying isn't, oh, look at those gorgeous amenities.
No. And this is key for you listening to understand. Families aren't evaluating brochures, they are evaluating risk.
Risk.
Yes, you have to remember the context. These families are under immense stress. We are talking about dementia, a bad fall caregiver burnout, a scary medical diagnosis.
Yeah, they are in crisis mode.
They are. And they are asking one single burning question. Do I believe you will do what you said you would do when I am not there?
Now, that gave me chills a little bit when I read it. When I am not there. That is the absolute heart of it, isn't it? It's not about the slick sales pitch or the fresh cookies in the lobby. It's about safety when the lights go out.
Precisely. And this leads to the concept of seams.
I love this visual, the seams of the journey. Tell us about that, because usually we just focus on the big events, right? The tour, the lease signing.
Right. The argument is that trust is rarely lost during the big flashy moments like the tour. You have your best person doing the tour, the building looks spotless. Trust is actually lost in the handoffs, the seams between the stages.
Okay, but give me some concrete examples here. Where do these seams usually split?
Think about the handoff from marketing to sales, or the handoff from the tour to the follow-up, or crucially, the handoff from the deposit to the actual move-in day. And even later, the handoff from everything is fine to handling a sudden problem.
It's like a corporate game of telephone.
It is, and that is exactly where the trust leak happens. The source provides this really visceral example that I think anyone who has dealt with healthcare or senior living will recognize immediately. Imagine a family, let's say a daughter named Sarah, having to repeat her story.
And it's never a happy, easy story.
No, it's a painful, complicated story about her mom's dementia, her sleep patterns, her anxiety. Sarah tells this all to the sales director on Tuesday.
Pours her heart out.
Right. Then she comes back on Wednesday to meet the wellness director. And the wellness director sits down and asks, "So tell me about your mom. Does she have any anxiety?"
Ugh. It's exhausting just thinking about it. You just want to scream. I just told you this yesterday.
It is exhausting. But worse than exhausting, it signals risk. When a family realizes nobody owns the thread, they panic.
They think you're disorganized.
They think if they can't even remember that mom wanders at night during the sales process, how are they going to keep her safe on Tuesday night at 2 a.m.? That is where trust leaks out of the bucket.
That is such a powerful reframing. We worry so much about the pitch, but the deal is actually lost because the receptionist didn't know who was coming in for the tour, or the nurse asked the exact same question the sales director asked yesterday.
Exactly. The source calls these little breakdowns. They aren't dramatic explosions. They are just moments where the family feels like you aren't organized enough to handle their crisis.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes. They don't leave because of the price. They leave because of the chaos.
So if the funnel is leaky because of these seams, simply pouring more leads into the top stager, spending more on Google Ads, is crazy.
It's lighting money on fire.
Okay, so let's say we acknowledge the seams are an issue. We still have to sell. We still have to fill the building. This brings us to our second topic, and this is where we get into some really spicy takes on sales philosophy. The last man standing philosophy.
Oh, yes. This challenges one of the biggest sacred cows in the entire industry, speed to lead.
Sales teams live and die by speed to lead. If you don't call them back in 5 minutes, you might as well not call right. That's the dogma.
And look, the source admits that basic responsiveness is important. It's table stakes. You can't just ignore people. But speed is not a competitive edge anymore. Everyone has automation. Everyone calls back fast. The problem isn't the front of the funnel.
The source actually says the front of the funnel is full, but follow-through is fragile.
That's the exact quote. The winner in 2026 isn't the fastest sprinter. It's the marathon runner. It's the last man standing.
I love this concept. It's the idea that the community that wins is the one that is still there after the chaos settles.
Right. Think about what the family actually goes through. They inquire, then they hit denial. Maybe mom isn't that bad yet.
Happens all the time.
Then the siblings get in a huge fight about money. Then they try to hire a homemade instead. Then they delay because they just aren't ready.
And most sales teams give up after call number 3. They mark it as a cold lead in the CRM and move on to fresh meat.
Exactly. But the last man standing is the community that is still checking in, still helpful, still present after the crisis event finally forces the decision 6 months later. They win, not because they were pushy, but because they were consistent.
Now, to be that consistent without being completely annoying takes a certain mindset. I mean, nobody wants to be the stalker salesperson, and the source gives us 2 incredible rules for this. The first one is my absolute favorite, the heaven or hell rule.
It is very provocative, isn't it?
Follow up until they go to heaven, or they tell you to go to hell.
It sounds aggressive, but let's look at the actual intent. It's really about removing ego.
Right. It stops sales teams from making up stories in their heads.
Exactly. Salespeople often stop following up because they feel like they're being a bother, or they take a non-response personally. They think, oh, they must hate me, or they went somewhere else.
They project their own discomfort.
Yes. The heaven or hell rule says stop making this about your feelings. This is about a family in a really hard season. Unless they explicitly tell you to stop, which is the go to hell part, you assume they still need help.
It's clarity over comfort. But you can't just robocall them every week asking, are you ready to sign? You have to do it with the right energy. Which leads to the second rule, the best friend rule.
This completely softens the approach. The question you have to ask is, if your best friend's mom was struggling with dementia, how personally would you take it if she didn't answer the phone?
You wouldn't take it personally at all. You'd be worried about her. You'd assume she was just completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. You would keep showing up. You'd send a text saying, thinking of you, or, hey, I saw this article on caregiver burnout and thought of you. You wouldn't make it weird. You would just be helpful. That is the required energy for last man standing.
It changes the whole dynamic from salesperson chasing a quota to a consultant offering a lifeline.
And that energy shift is palpable to the family. It builds trust because it proves you aren't just there for the commission. You are there for the outcome.
So we have fixed the follow-up. But how are these families finding us in the first place? Because the source says that has completely changed too. We aren't just dealing with SEO anymore. Welcome to the era of AEO.
Ask engine optimization. This is the tech shift that is really defining 2026.
I feel like we just finally got a handle on SEO and now the goalposts moved again. Can you explain the difference for our listeners?
The goalposts are definitely always moving. But this is a fundamental behavior change, not just a tech update. People are asking AI tools questions before they ever visit a website. They aren't typing clunky keywords like senior living Austin into a search bar as much anymore.
Right.
They are asking ChatGPT or Perplexity questions like, my dad has Parkinson's and a limited budget in Austin, which communities have the best care ratings and won't kick him out.
That is a very specific, very vulnerable question. It's not a keyword search at all. It's a conversation.
It is. And the AI tools summarize, compare, and judge your community before you even know a prospect exists. It digests all the info out there and spits out a verdict.
The source mentions a staggering statistic here, the 91% problem.
Yes. The industry spends all its time and money studying the 9% of people who actually fill out a form or pick up the phone. We obsess over that data, but we are completely ignoring the 91% who formed a belief about us and decided not to reach out based on what they found online or through AI.
And the scary part is those 91% aren't neutral. They didn't just happen to not see us.
No, they are walking in with suspicion. Or they are walking away with suspicion. They have already done their research.
So your first impression isn't your physical lobby anymore. And it's not your homepage either.
No, the source describes credibility as a composite score. It's a mix of your reviews, your employee sentiment, which is huge, by the way, third-party coverage, and what AI can actually corroborate about you.
The employee sentiment part is really interesting to me because usually marketing people don't look at HR Glassdoor reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But the source mentioned using Reddit not for drama, but for actual data.
Right. Because families are incredibly savvy. They know your brochure is marketing. They know your website is polished to perfection. So they go to Reddit or Glassdoor to see what the actual staff says.
To find the dirt.
Yes. If your nursing staff is on Reddit complaining about burnout low ratios and a lack of supplies, the AI picks that up and the family sees it. It doesn't matter what your glossy brochure says. If your own staff is out there saying, don't work here, it's unsafe.
That brings us full circle right back to operations. You literally cannot market your way out of a bad reputation if the reliability just isn't there.
Exactly. Which is why the source argues that reliability is the single most powerful growth strategy you have.
Let's dive into that. Topic 4, operational excellence. If trust grows slowly and drops fast, your actual job is reliability.
It sounds kind of boring, right? Reliability. It's not sexy like a massive rebrand or a viral video. You don't get industry awards for being reliable, but it's what actually wins.
So what does reliability actually look like in this specific context? Because it feels a bit abstract.
It looks like clean handoffs. It looks like very clear next steps, fewer internal contradictions between departments. It means an onboarding process that creates advocates rather than creating operational headaches.
The source made a really good point here. You can get a flyer or a website anywhere. You can go to Pinterest for inspiration or use ChatGPT to write your copy. But you cannot automate a systems lens.
That is the ultimate differentiator. A systems lens means looking at your entire operation and seeing where the trust leaks are. It's asking the hard questions. Where are we forcing families to repeat themselves? Where are we dropping the ball? Where are we making grand promises in sales that operations simply cannot keep?
For the leaders listening right now, the CEOs, the VPs of ops, who are thinking, okay, I buy it, but where on earth do I start? The source actually lays out a 4-step action plan to fix these leaks. Let's run through that so we can give you something highly practical to take away.
Sure. Step one is pick one seam to fix. Just one. Don't try to boil the ocean. Maybe it's the handoff from deposit to move in. That is usually a massive high-stress moment.
Okay, pick a single seam. Step 2.
Define what must be true at that specific seam. What must the family feel? What must they receive? What must they understand? You have to define the actual experience, not just the task list.
Give me an example of that difference.
Well, it's not just send the move-in paperwork. It's ensure they feel completely welcome and safe.
I like that. It's about the feeling, the outcome, not just ticking a checklist. Step 3.
Assign a real owner. And this is crucial. Not just who touches the file, who is accountable for it being done right? Because if everyone owns it, nobody owns it. Is it the executive director? Is it the sales director? Pick one person.
And finally, step 4.
Measure trust in plain language. Stop hiding behind complex KPIs. Ask simple, direct questions. Where do families get confused? Where do they lose confidence in us? Where do they feel unsafe? If you can answer those honestly, you can fix the leak.
It seems so simple, yet it is so rare to see it executed.
It's rare because it requires silos to actually break down. Marketing has to talk to clinical. Clinical has to talk to maintenance. Everyone has to agree that the experience itself is the product.
So pulling this all together, we started by saying we might be measuring the entirely wrong things.
Right. We are measuring raw volume leads, calls, tours, when we really should be measuring trust.
The synthesis here is really powerful. Marketing actually works better when you don't have to bake